It's a beautiful Monday morning, the 1st of April, known as the prank day, but it's also the working day that opens the week. And of course, spring is in full bloom, shedding oil and birthing new, which ties pretty well with Easter Monday and the message of rebirth, of the resurrection. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. I am Bukola Koka, and of course I have my dependable colleagues here with me, Jeffrey and Kayode. Good morning. How are you guys doing?
See, I forgot to put off my jacket. It was when I had finished dressing, I was like, oh, today is public holiday.
Right?
Should have worn my winter whatever to the show. But I know you use one weather description. Is it
spring?
Spring, yeah.
We don't do spring here, okay? It's just simple.
Well,
Color is well-traveled. Well-traveled.
Dry or wet season, Hamatan, that's the best we can get. So anything beyond that is not within our climate, apart from flood. And
just enjoy the message, Jeffrey. But I'm not surprised. I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So that will get our Nigerian audience, because I've been thinking about something I watched on Malawian TV. Somebody was actually interpreting his own version. I think he's a meteorologist, trying to use some inflections, African inflections, to tell the people what the weather looks like. And then people are getting at the guy. Even Malawians are saying, we don't know this man. Hey, guys, calm down. That's our own way. At least most Africans understand when he said the weather is we know what weather is, technically, you know. So how...
No, Jeffrey, I don't know.
I don't know.
Jeffrey, I did not know that weather. I only know Hamatan rises in, and it's hot currently, so I can add that to the list. But
no, the guy was trying to amplify a particular temperature, was explaining.
Right.
Yeah, you understand. So,
okay, just to contextualize it within the Malawian.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Let's just call it within the African context.
Right.
So sometimes I began to reimagine what is really global standard. If the West doesn't understand how we do our things, does it mean ours is not global standard?
Right.
We should understand theirs, because, come on, we need to begin to rethink and reimagine this. Welcome to the show. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
Reflection note that we're starting on today, absolutely. But it's a combination of a lot of things today. Welcome to the show. But let me give you a heads up. It's April Fool's Day. People will want to prank you. I'm the spoiler this morning. I'm spoiling all of the plans. So please be on guard, okay? Don't say we didn't do anything for you. Phone calls will come in. SMSs will come in. People will visit you and tell you all sorts, but you have to stay on guard. You know what the motto for the year is? No grief for anybody. Welcome to the show, guys.
So I was hoping that, I was thinking and trying to protect my mental, space. I was thinking that you were going to prank me this morning, both of you. But here we are, no prank yet.
So you have to be very careful when you prank people, particularly in the current economic situation. Right? You don't want to prank someone and you end up in the hospital. And they ask you what happened, and you go, well, I pranked someone. So it's very important to approach, even people that prank on social media, some of these things are planned, right? They are just scripted, because first, you don't know the health condition of the person you're pranking. You don't know the mental state of the person you're pranking. So please approach pranking this year today with caution, because things are tricky, guys.
Okay, for those of us who grew up in the South, to avoid being pranked, prank with caution. You know, for those who understand what I said.
That's a play on words that's very important.
I don't like pranks, I don't like pranks, because you may never know how it happens. You don't, like you said, you don't know the mental health. But there's this prank I've been seeing on social media, I think on TikTok. A guy, he just pranked security guards. So he goes and tells them, oh, somebody was shot there, or somebody's carrying gun, and then you just see how they respond. Some of the security guards, they run away literally without even closing the gate.
Ouch.
Ouch.
So, boy, hey, what do you expect?
Hey.
They're not armed anyway, so...
Well, the message is instructive this morning for everyone, particularly news merchants, those who do their business on social media. This is certainly not the time to prank with stories like insecurity, stories about the pump price of petrol, stories of kidnapping, stories of, all the works. So this is the time to be serious, especially because people are battling, just to stay afloat amid the economic challenges, and they are deploying all sorts of coping mechanisms to be happy. So prank with caution, and if you must not prank, perhaps don't plan to prank at all.
Let's not forget the essence of the season. It's Easter, so let's not miss that beat.
That's not a prank, absolutely. That's
that's not a prank. For the Christian faithful, Jesus has resurrected. He's alive again. And yes, like 24 hours after. So he's alive again. So that's the hope and the faith and all of the excitement that is being celebrated in among the Christian faithful. So that is the essence of the season, which is why you're on public holiday. So happy holidays to all of you. But hey, we have to be at work to do our job. And we love it. Trust me, we do love it.
That's my definition of public holiday, by the way, Jeffrey.
I don't.
That day when every other Nigerian is at home, but the journalist must be at work. Well, not just journalists now, but essential workers, security operatives, and medical workers. We have to be at work today, and we're glad to be able to serve you. Speaking of which, Easter Reflections is what we continue with today, a public holiday for Christian faithful in Nigeria, observed mostly with fun-filled activities and relaxation. And today we continue with our conversation on the essence of the season with another leading light of the faith, the founder of the Funke Felix Adejumo Foundation, Reverend Funke Felix Adejumo, is our guest today. So get set for some table shaking with the ever-frank FFA.
And so we'll talk a bit of politics. The strong showing of the Labour Party as a vibrant, strong force may have also become its own albatross. This is because of the internal wranglings within the party since its impressive outing at the 2023 general election. It seems to be tearing it apart. The protracted and festering contention over the leadership of the party is not letting up anytime soon, as the Nigeria Labour Congress appears to be the latest in the long list of stakeholders demanding the exit of the re-elected national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, from office. So this morning we asked, which way Labour Party? And I'll be here to answer all of that question.
Big question. And we know that today is the day you just want to let down your hair, just, and relax. I know, right? And you'll probably be seeing some movies, absolutely, while you also do the Galilee thing. So we turn our attention from the comeback of cinema culture to the advancement of technology evident in streaming platforms. This is backed by a new order featuring aesthetic artistry and sophistication and a high degree of professionalism. Lots of big terms there. But the point is, today, we return to the bright lights of Nigeria's glamorous movie scenes to review the progress. And we have joining us Ambassador Dr. Queen Blessing Ebigieson. You're wondering who that is? I mean, look at that. You don't want to miss that segment, absolutely.
Yeah, the bright lights of Nollywood is what we'll be reviewing this morning. The progress, challenges, and of course the prospects with Queen Ebigieson. We're not going to take out the fun of April Fool's Day. So what's the biggest prank that you've ever, experienced? You can share that with us, of course, coupled with all of your reactions to other big stories on the Morning Brief. So start posting to us at X, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can also follow us on our social media platforms. And right after this time out, we'll begin with the top stories on the Morning Brief. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Morning Brief, and it's the Easter Monday edition. And we're starting with the top stories. Tens of thousands of Catholics gathered on Sunday at the St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City to hear Pope Francis give Easter Mass and a traditional blessing. The Catholic pontiff used his traditional Easter message to call for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and for the return of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The 87-year-old pontiff led Easter Mass at the Vatican in front of thousands, despite the concerns over his health. Referring to conflicts around the world, the Pope pleaded to world leaders not to yield to the logic of weapons and rearming. And here in Nigeria, Christian worshippers gathered in different churches across the states for the Easter Thanksgiving service to thank and praise God for making them witness another Easter celebration.
The significance of Easter is also a sermon of service, that when you serve very well, God very well, humanity very well, not excluding yourself from this humanity very well, that as Jesus rose, as Jesus is repaid by the Father with the glory of the Father, that those who do his will and those who do the will of the Father, that is really embedded in the new commandment of love of God above everything and love of man as yourself.
In our world today, in a world of hardship, has suffering any value at all? I think it's a good question to ask. And I think what we celebrate today, namely the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, answer these questions clearly. Yes, suffering has value, because it is through suffering that we have Christianity today.
Meanwhile, other denominations of the Christian faith gathered at various worship centers to celebrate the Easter service, singing, dancing, and worshiping God for his faithfulness.
No matter how you talk about the power of resurrection, and you don't look at the power that made him do what he did, people of God, love drove him. Love was the reason why he died. Love is the essence. Love, it was just all about love.
Rule us nicely. Then the love of the Lord, let it reign in your hand. When you love your nation, you will use the money that is meant for the right things, for the right things. Don't stack it somewhere, because your Creator put you there and is going to ask you on the last day.
More Easter messages now, but this time from the political scene, as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is asking Christians to pray for those in authority to judiciously use public funds to better the lives of poor Nigerians. Mr. Obi was speaking during a Thanksgiving service by the Abia State Governor, Dr. Alex Oti, at the First African Church Mission, Amapu, Ntiga in Isiala-Ngwa North local government area of the state.
When you have good people in government, everybody is happy. There's a hope. Government is never going to solve every problem. But what people want is that at least let people see that their resources is being used for their good. And that is what we're celebrating today. Mine is a very simple one. Do remember us in prayers. Remember the people in government in prayers. It is very difficult for you to continue to do a good thing when you're in government in Nigeria. It's a criminal system. So do remember that in prayers always. Let your prayer point always be. Let God touch all of us to use public money for public good.
If Nigerians must see the transformation in the economic fortunes that they have long craved, then they might as well roll up their sleeves, because every Nigerian has a role to play in moving the nation forward. That's the submission of the Director General of the Nigeria Christian Pilgrims Commission, Bishop Stephen Adegbite, who spoke in an exclusive interview with Channels Television.
It's quite unfortunate that we are still getting the same result, doing the same thing the same way. We need to change our attitude, like I said the other time. Everybody must put their hands on the deck. The work is not only for the government. The work is for you, it's for me, it's for those who are listening to us now. That look, if you want Nigeria to be great, we have to participate and contribute our own quota. Every one of us is the president in their little corner. Every one of us is the governor of his little home. Everyone is the commissioner in his own classroom. Teacher must do their bits. The students must do their bits. The workers must do their bits. You don't need to wait until your boss comes around before you behave. Whether the boss is there or not, do your job.
Nigerians can rest assured, because President Bola Tinubu will do all it takes to make the country better. Wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, gave this assurance when she hosted women at the State House for the breaking of the Ramadan fast. She, however, calls for collective effort to get the nation back on track.
we want to thank God for his blessings over our nation. We can see when Ramadan started, who said God doesn't hear the prayers of everyone who are praying to him in a very sincere manner. We see that now even things are turning around, and it's happening in the Ramadan month. We want to thank God for blessing us, and I believe this is the beginning of greater things to happen in this nation. We are set on track, and we believe that Mr. President, will do all it takes to make sure that even when we are out of here, we know we are going to enter a Nigeria that we too can relax and thank God for giving us this opportunity. So we all have work to do. It's not just only me. Every one of us have a task to take on to get our nation back on its feet. And we all know, those of us who are, over 50 years old, we've seen Nigeria when Nigeria was all right for all of us. And we believe, we always say something, that the glory of Nigeria, of this, the latter end of Nigeria will be greater than the former. So that all of us that have seen the good old days that they used to see, the days that God is about to birth for us, we will marvel, because it will exceed what we have seen in the past.
And to other issues now, but on a sad note, 3 children have died as a result of an explosion in Didangogeta village of Karim Lamido local government area in Taraba State. That's according to the State Commissioner of Police, Mr. David Iloyono Mon. The victims were playing with a Dane gun when the gunpowder exploded and killed them. According to him, 4 other children playing under the tree were injured, with 1 severely affected and receiving treatment at the State Specialist Hospital in Jalingo, the state capital. He dismissed claims, however, that the incident is the result of an improvised explosive device or a dynamite. A sad way to mark Easter Sunday. But to other stories now. From the sports scene, Nigeria's sole representative in the CAF Confederation Cup, Rivers United, edged defending champions USM Alger of Algeria 1-0 in the first leg of their quarter-final clash at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, on Sunday. The reigning champions will host the Nigerian side in the return leg on Sunday next week in Algiers, Algeria. Abubakar Adamu's well-executed assist from a corner kick set the stage for Augustine Okejekpa's decisive goal and the advantage that we take to Algeria. Yes, that's a good way for our players to mark Easter Sunday. And what are some of the things that you're saying about these big stories? I have joining me now Coyote to review some of your comments and contributions. Hi, Coyote.
Absolutely, Bukola. Quite a number of stories, big ones, absolutely. Not minding the fact that the weekend was Easter holiday, there were still stories that got you and other Nigerians talking. So let's get into some of them this morning as much as we can. And I think the first one would be the AFDB boss, Sekiomi Adesina, proposing United States of Nigeria. Now, this was actually in a speech he made when he received the Obafemi Awolowo award, but then his spokesperson brought out that part and put it out over the weekend just so Nigerians can get more value from that particular speech. And a lot of Nigerians have been talking United States of Nigeria. You're wondering what that means. Of course, it sounds like United States of America. But what he was trying to say is have economically viable entities. It's not just be a political thing, but these entities, the states that make it up, must be economically viable. Let's take this first statement from Kan Rabai on X. And this is what Kan Rabai says: it will work with 100% resource control by each state and only tax to the federal government. If not, nothing. So yeah, that's the first comment on that one.
That's a loaded one for everyone to reflect on, perhaps as we continue to our pursuit for true federalism.
Right.
This next one is from Olva, who says, The restructuring comes with independent states in a united Nigeria. That's it. Giving each state full autonomy over their own affairs is a route to solving many of Nigeria's enormous problems. Excellent submission. Thank you. And thank you for your post.
Absolutely. Olua, I think, styled in a different way. But take a look at Emmanuel Norum says, what would be the economic impact? Will that make Nigeria united? People are not united by terminologies, but by a common goal. Fix the goal, fix the direction, and we wouldn't need to change any name. Perhaps also take a look at some part of that speech. Maybe that can give some more insight into this.
Well, that's if Nigeria is seen as an alternative nomenclature to a United States of Nigeria. This next one is from Sulaiman, who says, this is an intriguing concept that could significantly impact the country's governance structure, but we need to improve our economy first.
Daniel 18 Tanya says, good proposition, which will make us better. United States of Nigeria simply means allowing each geopolitical region to rule themselves in form of a regional system of government. This will be a welcome development, he believes.
And this next one is from Speechless, who says, do we actually need a change of name or change of mindset towards the proper development of this country? Every one of us has one or two impact geared towards achieving that set goal.
Let me just give you the quote from the FDB boss's speech. Says, instead of the federal government of Nigeria, we could think of the United States of Nigeria. The old will give way to the new. But keep those comments coming in, hashtag CTV Morning Brief and across all social media platforms. But that's not the only big story that we have today. There's another conversation which is making the rounds.
And this one is from the Kaduna State Governor, who is saying that he inherited $587 million debt from his predecessor, and Nigerians have begun talking about that already. This first one is from Ogarobe Jenny, who says, once you take a seat of leadership, there shouldn't be room for excuses. All that matters is results. Over 1 year in office should be enough to make sufficient provision for monthly recurrent expenditure for the state. Country already had no excuses to starve the people.
Well, Governmentson, that's the name of this user on X, says government is about continuity. If Ashiwaju keeps complaining about debt, he won't do anything. And he talks about, World Bank giving the state a loan is a testament that such state is viable enough to pay back.
Well, this next one is from Damagum, who says, what does he mean by we can't pay salaries now? It said that the government in Nigeria makes salary payments optional in the budget. A salary is a fundamental human right of anyone that has earned it. It is not optional. Well, we'll have to verify if indeed the Kaduna State Governor said categorically that salaries can be paid at this time.
Exactly. Yeah. I know it was in a town hall of sorts that the governor mentioned that, and some are taking it different angles. I mean, it's information that should actually be out there. Everybody should know about these things, but some say, well, was it done in bad faith and all of that? Well, this next person, Ebenezer Anointu, is calling on EFCC, and there you see that tweet saying there's no room for excuses right there. So these are some of the angles Nigerians are approaching this conversation with.
Well, whichever one that you like this morning. But the point must be made that, federal allocation to the subnationals has increased. Some would say doubled, but, the exact measure of increase is somewhere between 40 to 50% of what they used to get. So, it's only natural. It's a no-brainer, really, that a lot is expected of the subnationals, particularly amid these challenging times. But the Kaduna State Governor, has outlined the different programs ongoing for the people of Kaduna on different platforms that you can also find on our station, so that we can balance the conversation. Should we move on to the next talking point? 13 new governors borrowed 226.8 billion naira in 6 months. That's according to the Debt Management Office, which is also somehow related to what we were talking about before. And the first point is from Prince Wilforce, who says, despite higher allocation to states, hardly will you, I believe, see new governors with a meaningful project in their state. Well, you must verify that, Prince Wilforce.
And, VN Wifo says that, that's the sum total of the capabilities borrow, spend, leave a debt mounting for their successor. And it says that creating an enabling environment for investment and creation of real taxes and all that, he thinks beyond their skill set. But this is a time for the governors to, well, show that this is not who they are. This is a challenge, by the way, from this user. And hey, Nigerians have seen these things time and again, so you'll understand why a lot of people have this mindset about governance.
Yeah, we hear you, Victor. We hear you. This next one is from Chisom, who says, why do the Nigerian government, I believe he's talking about governors here, keep collecting loans? For what exactly? I don't have the answer.
So let us know what you think about this, particularly because they are new, governments or new governors in this case. And there's actually a list. If you do the analysis by the DMO, there's actually a list of those states. So the question is, have you seen that story? Is your state on that list? Are you asking the appropriate questions? We need to trickle these things down to everyday Nigerians so you can be a part of governance. So if you see your state on that list, even if your state is not on that list, make sure you are asking questions from your councillors, local government, your representatives at state and federal governments. We can go on and on, but keep those comments coming in, all right?
And
we'll switch gears now.
Yes, we're switching gears. We'll be asking those questions on your behalf, by the way, today and on all other days on the program. And we're starting with our continuing conversation on the essence of the season. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this time out. So as is typical of every festive season, we've had tons of messages from elected and appointed public officials, basically celebrating with Nigerians and urging Nigerians to support the government as it continues with that task of providing meaningful development for the nation. And we look at the Easter message really this time around and, try to see how we can walk the talk with all of the messages coming in from Easter. And to help us with this conversation, we have joining us the founder of the Funke Felix Adejumo Foundation, Reverend Mrs. Funke Felix Adejumo, who joins us on the morning brief this morning via Zoom. Good morning and welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Bukola, Jeffrey, Kayode, and every viewer. Happy Easter to all of you.
And happy Easter to you as well. It's nice to have to see you on a different platform from Instagram and Facebook, where we hear all of your messages. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the program and on this special celebration. And that's where we're starting with, for you to remind us of the essence of the Easter season.
Thank you once again. I must start by saying that Channels Television, you are doing so fantastically well. You make us to keep saying we're proudly Nigerians, proudly Africans. Well done to the management, to the staff, to the team. You all are the best.
Thank you.
Easter, in my opinion, is the most important celebration when we talk about Christianity. Because if the Lord Jesus Christ had come, had died, but did not resurrect, then Christianity would be like just any other fanfare or religion. The fact that he died and he resurrected, it's what gives us hope. So it's beyond wearing of new dresses and eating chicken and all that. It makes us know that there is life after this life, because there is resurrection.
So as we continue with the celebration, there's that challenge of, reflecting the values of the season, because either it's the Easter Christian message or it's the message from the other faiths, which we're even about to celebrate. That would be the Ramadan, which would be preaching tolerance. The challenge is it hardly reflects on our daily lives. So what would be your message at this very challenging and critical point of our existence for us to live together as one, as a nation?
Thank you very much. If we look at the life that Jesus Christ lived, we have so many lessons. Number one, we have love. Love leads to religious tolerance. If we understand love, that you are not superior to me, neither am I superior to you. In Job chapter number 12 and verse number 3, and Job chapter 13 verse 2, the Bible says, what you know, I am not inferior to you. Jesus Christ brought love, and that makes us understand that we must love. You cannot be killing me because you want me to do your religion. You cannot be demeaning me because you want, if you kill me, so what will you preach to me? So that's the first thing, religious tolerance. In some families, we have Christians, we have Muslims, we have Buddhists, we have, the first law, well, let me speak as a law student now. In international humanitarian law, one of the main principles is humanity, the principle of humanity, not religion. So, as we reflect on the values of Christmas, we must understand this. Number two is focus. When the Lord Jesus Christ came, he focused on the reason why he came. You cannot be here and there and there and there and there and become successful. We must understand that this is a major lesson that Easter teaches us. Focus, focus, focus. Number three is forgiveness. You cannot continue to celebrate the anniversary of people's wrongs. Who is perfect, by the way? All of us have reasons to be maybe embarrassed and say, oh, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't do that. If God continues to remind us of our sins, we won't all be here. So forgiveness is one of the values. Also, we must understand that vengeance is not right. You cannot say because somebody did this, you'll be waiting for the time to, take vengeance. It's going to kill everybody. This is it. If God was to mark iniquity, none of us will be able to stand. And let me say one more. We must begin to see the good in other people that are different from us. We may be different. It does not mean that you are inferior or superior. This we cannot say too much. Let's understand this difference and the fact that somebody does not have your view, just like we have those four blind people that were told to touch the elephant. You touch different parts of the elephant. That's the same thing with life. So please understand this. It will help us as leaders and as the led to know that we will always have differences. But we must, like you all have been saying, have a United States of Nigeria. Thank you.
Let's dig deep further in that particular narrative you just put out, Madam, on the issue of love. So why is it that it's quite difficult for people to rightly interpret the intent of the deity they subscribe to, in this case the Christian faith, because we have several religions in Nigeria, and everybody seems to have their own version and understanding, which is the reason for some of the outcome we see that we fall over each other about?
Thank you, Jeffrey. I believe that it begins from the home, the family. We have four kinds of parents. Absentee parents. They are there, but they are not there. Some are not even there at all. looking for money everywhere at the detriment of their families. We have abusive parents. Any little thing, bats, bows. You are this, you are an idiot, you are stupid, you are silly. Number 3, we have permissive parents. Anything goes. It doesn't matter, he's a child. And we find that also in the Bible about a pastor called Eli. And then we have participatory parents. All the leaders we have, all the people we have in authority, journalists, pastors, civil servants, business people, grew up and were raised in homes. If we start going back to the values of families, where the children are raised, where the father does not say, it's not go to your mommy, it's just your mommy, where we have participatory parenting and we begin to raise these children together and we prepare them, they are going to become better leaders, better citizens, and all that. For instance, Jeffrey, my husband and I are starting a school, a boys' college and a girls' college. And it's not just about teaching physics and chemistry and maths. We want to raise them, apart from these subjects, on how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to be a father, how to be a profitable citizen, how to be a girl, how to understand that being a girl does not make you inferior. If we begin to do this, it's going to help us. When the child does not see the father slap the mother, when the child does not see the mother disrespect the father, whether you like it or not, he or she is going to grow up with these values. And by the time he or she gets to, circles of influence, places of authority, it's going to flow down. Psalm 133. It starts from the head. It's going to flow down. If we begin to do this, I bet you it's a matter of time. Let's be present in our children's lives. I'm so sorry to say that generations ahead might have missed it, but it's never too late. Let's start. Let's have the number of children we can raise and let both father and the mother be involved in raising these kids and preparing them for tomorrow.
Absolutely something to reflect, not just reflect on, but act on it. But I mean, while we might yield or begin to reap the fruits of this seed some years to come when these children grow up, I mean, we're currently in a situation where there is mutual suspicion amongst ethnicities, people, and I think that's been one of our major challenges as a nation. And that's why the FDB boss was calling for United States of Nigeria, because it looks like everybody's suspicious of the other. This one is trying to, cheat me, so I'm going to pull the person down. I won't let you achieve what you want to achieve. And we've been at this for years and decades. So I'll bring this to your forte, which is relationship and marriage. If you were to counsel us as Nigerians, we're seated right in front of you and you're doing your thing, and one of our major issues is mutual suspicion. I don't trust this person, just like a man would tell you that I don't trust my wife, or vice versa. You're seated right in front of us as Nigerians. What would be your prescription for us as a way of marriage counseling or relationship counseling in this case?
Thank you so much, Kayode. There are 3 things I'm going to say. Number 1 is the picture of destiny. And I want to break it down. What is the picture that you have of your family, of your relationship, of a nation, of your continent? The picture of destiny, the imagination. It must be clear. Just like when I'm watching Chinese television, maybe soccer, and there is no goal posts, it will just be a waste of time. So that's the first thing. The picture of destiny, the picture of what you want. Now, this sounds funny, but when my husband and I were dating, one day he came visiting and he gave me a pen and a paper and he said to me, write what you see in the future and what you want. And he picked his own and wrote. By the time we began to compare, I noticed something. He wrote even the kind of flowers he wants us to plant in the house. 40 years down the line, I see these flowers. It's scriptural. The book of Genesis chapter 6, God said, let's come down and scatter these things because nothing will be restrained them that they have begun to think or imagine. So the picture of destiny, what do you see? What do you want? As a man, as a woman, as a nation, as leaders, as the led. Number 2 is the company of destiny. Who has your ears? Because you smell like the company you keep. Your friend is the prophecy of your future. You cannot have a great home, for instance, a great family life, if all you hear is, don't allow the man who give it to him. If he slaps you, slap him back. How can he give you 50,000? Can you imagine? You cannot. So who has your ears? Who is in your company? And we need to be careful of 3 groups of people. Number 1, expired mentors. Number 2, jealous colleagues. Number 3, parasitic proteges. These people won't take you anywhere. That's the second thing. The first thing is the picture of destiny. The second thing is the company of destiny. And the third thing is the discipline of destiny. And this has to do with our homes, with our families, with our nation, with people in authority, with every one of us. You cannot afford not to pay the price. I've been married 40 years. Ask my husband, ask me. It's not been a bed of roses. We have our issues. No marriage is perfect. We don't have a perfect marriage, but we have a great one by reason of God's grace, and then the discipline of destiny. The discipline, which is one of the things lacking in Nigeria. The discipline. And I believe that as God begins to give us great leaders, Nigerians are easy to lead. I'm telling you. How do I say this and why do I say this? When you go abroad, it will shock you that Nigerians will follow. They won't break the light, quote and unquote. When the light says stop, they stop. When they say you cannot cross or else you pay 1,000 pounds. There was a time when we were told to queue. I think it was Idiagbo and all that was enough at that time. We will queue. We queued. You tell us to do this, we do. The discipline of destiny, that is a major thing. When you begin to see the good in other people, when you don't have a PhD in evil, operation pull him down. When you don't put people down with your mouth or with your fingers on the internet, when all you are looking for is not people's mistakes. This person may make mistakes, but let's put it on a scale. This person, has he or she blessed us? Is this person impactful? This person is a human being, B-E-I-N-G, not a human being. Past participle, B-E-E-N. None of us is a human being. So why is it that you're always looking for the mistakes of other people? Why is Jeffrey like that? Why is Kayode's tie like that? Why is Bukola shaking her head? What about the impact they have made? When we begin to understand the discipline, we put it there. You can't be a man and be sleeping around. You can't be a woman and be dishonoring everybody, talking to your in-laws anyhow. Of course, you know what I'm talking about now, and all that. So I believe these 3 things are important. The picture that we want to see, and there must be clarity about that. The company, and then the discipline. Thank you.
Deep, profound, and coming from you, I guess some of us will be looking through our list for parasitic proteges and what's the other one now?
Expired mentors?
Expired mentors, so that we can have that, envision that destiny and actualize that disciplined destiny. But as we dig deeper now, as Jeffrey would always say, to the difficult part of the conversation, earlier on, on our bulletins, we had that admonition from Reverend Ebigieson, who said all hands must be on deck. So either the elected and appointed leaders, the followers, the children in the schools, even the men in the cassocks. And that's where I want to draw from the lesson of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, whose sacrifice we're celebrating on Easter today. He lived an austere lifestyle, but what we see more often than not is a little less and less of that example reflected in the lives of, quote unquote, the men of God. As a matter of fact, in recent times, some videos have shown on social media, where their followers are falling over themselves, to greet their men of God, quote unquote, this worship and adoration of the lifestyles of men of God, for which, sometimes Nigerians do not spare them for owning aircrafts. So what would your stance be on this, particularly in emulating the kind of life that Jesus lived while he was on the earth?
Thank you, Bukola. I'm going to try and bring a balance to this issue. Number one, the fact that you are a servant of God does not mean you should be wretched. My husband and I have been in business before we got into ministry. And I believe that's the story of some men of God. As we speak, my husband and I are still in business, full-time business and full-time ministry. We do not draw salary from the church. It is a decision. And it does not mean that every pastor or every reverend or bishop should follow that. We just decided. My husband told me that that's how we're going to live our lives. My husband will be 70 in a few weeks' time. He still goes to the farm. If you go to our farm, you will see eggs, chicken, this, that, we plant and all that. And some of the things I do too. We have different things. That's what we do. And we are one of the best givers in the ministry. So sometimes we don't say these things because we just feel it's okay, God sees it. But that's the reality on ground. So if a man of God is blessed and he buys a jet, if I tell you my schedule, you will be wondering, how do I go? If he buys a jet, it may not necessarily mean that it's from the offering. But I don't want to own a jet when the people around me cannot afford a meal. The book of Hebrews chapter 5 tells us, beginning from verse 1 to 4, any high priest that cannot be touched is a low priest. Because he says, if Jesus Christ, our high priest, can be touched with the feelings of our infirmities. Last week, for instance, my husband and I put, and that's what we do regularly, food baskets. Recently, we just empowered 100 women, widows, and all that. We don't put all this on social media. And I'm sure that people that are bigger than us in ministry, they do this regularly. So that's one balance. The other one is, if you are truly a servant of God, and people must be pushed and beaten, and just because you are entering the service, or just because you are around, Bukola, Jeffrey, Kayode, if you have the time or you send someone, come to our church. We tell the ushers, now, if you have to push away these people, who are we pastoring? If I'm not free to move and follow, the church just closed now, and then we are all going out, and you have to be pushing and pushing them. For what? That's silly. That's not right at all. And that's not godly. There are churches that when the owner of the church, Jesus himself, enters, nobody knows. But when the GO enters, hey, everybody, that's not Christianity. I'm not being judgmental, but this is it. And let me say this. God is God. He gave us brain. Inside this skull, each of us has between 10 and 14 billion cells. It's not only to wear wig or cap, it is to think. So why do you go to a place where you are being treated as an animal with all the book that you know? And then somebody will mix Sprite for you and tell you to drink it. Where's your brain? Your brain is what God gave to you so that you will not keep disturbing him. Why? How? I still can't wrap my head around this. And then you lie down, a pastor, a fellow human being is trampling on you in the name of anointing. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? And then you say it's because of, that's not spirituality, that's stupidity. And I don't subscribe to that at all. So let's get the balance. A man of God can prosper, but please, if you're a man of God, you're a high priest, can you please touch others and let them be able to touch you and help them? At the same time, if a man of God has this with clean money, it is nothing, there's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Just the balance, and I cannot say that enough, the balance. We should not begin to think that, celebrating a private jet is an achievement. No, abroad, they have it, pastors have it. It's easy for movements. I've been to churches where, there's a Baptist church I attend when I'm in Houston. The man of God has to be here, first service, there, second service, It's just like your car. It's for easy movement. But us in Africa, we worship anything. And I don't think that is right.
All right.
Thank you. That's my...
Yeah. The reason that question is quite important, because for the clerics to be able to have influence on the people and the nation, a lot of housekeeping has to be done. And I know that you don't shy away from some of these assertions and statements, but maybe again you need to help us bring some clarity on some of the things that has gotten you some flax, which has to do with the issue of seed sowing in relation to the finished work of Christ. And I know that there was a time it was a big issue. And sometimes we realize that when people are not allowed to explain the context and just take it from the headlines, it becomes controversial and people are misunderstood. So perhaps it's an opportunity. I know you've spoken about issue of money and seed sowing. I know you've spoken about issues of relationship, but the seed sowing part and the finished work of Christ has been a controversy for a long time, not just around what you said. Maybe you provide some clarity.
Thank you very much. It is a biblical principle. Until tomorrow, in the church, we will sow seeds. I'm telling you, we can never shy away from that. Even Muslims, they sow. So I wonder why Christians criticize pastors for asking people to sow seeds. When, depending on the pastor, for instance, when I lead people to sow seeds, one cover does not mistakenly find its way to my pocket. For what? Rather, I will sow my own. Genesis 8:22, while the earth remaineth, the earth still remains. Seed, time, harvest. Luke chapter number 8, some women were committed to sowing seeds to Jesus' ministry. Romans chapter 16, Paul was analyzing and eulogizing and thanking some people that were committed. So I'm on Zoom now. If I have to do this every Sunday in church, I have to spend money. If I don't have a business, the church will provide it. In the Anglican setting and some of these Orthodox churches, the church builds the vicarage. There's nothing wrong with it. You take care of your pastor. If your pastor works with Chevron, will Chevron not take care of the pastor? We are talking about excesses. There is nothing wrong when you sow your seed as a person. You cannot be prosperous without some principles, hard work, doing business or having a job and giving. It's not only the church we give to when we sow seeds. It's not only the church. So people have taken it out of context. They've cut tapes. They don't know what, for instance, a person like me, I've been criticized. Of course, and then you just cut it. You don't know what led to that. They don't even put how much I gave. Where I gave £1,000, they will not show that one. They will just show the way and where I told the people to give, and then you send it around. It's funny. But it's part of the package. You know, elevated people will always be criticized by frustrated people. So if you don't have the guts to show us the full video, but your intention is to show that, oh, you see, I've been a pastor's wife for 30-something years. You don't expect me not to lead people to give offering or to sow seeds, and then you don't cut it and cut it and cut it. That's I don't have answers for that. But for seed sowing, Jeffrey, Buki, there is nothing wrong with it. It is scriptural. But I don't believe in making people feel bad if they can't afford to sow. If you don't pay your tithe, you are going to hell. It's not scriptural. If you don't give 1,000 naira, no, it's not scriptural. We give because we love God. Whether you give or you don't give, you are a Christian. You will make heaven.
Right.
So there's no twisting of hands in this matter. That's the balance.
Reverend, maybe there needs to be a masterclass from you on how you handle controversies. You seem to have a thick skin. It looks like week in, week out, there's always something about you trending on social media, a statement you made, cut out. And, you know, a lot of people just have a go at you. But you made a statement that elevated people are criticized by frustrated people.
Frustrated.
I imagine that will trend as well. So I wish you the best on this one. But as we wind down, maybe you can give us an insight how you handle, some of those trends. When you see another headline and you go, oh God, they're coming at me again. Maybe you can tell us how you handle it. What is your go-to when that happens? And also, maybe we can wind down on this conversation around young people, because it looks like a lot of them are getting, disinterested, not just in governance now, but even in religion. You know, they've seen a lot of things. They've seen how their parents fared, going to, religious houses time and again, and they look at their lives and they're like, no, I don't want my life to be like this. Yes, they are shining examples, but there are a lot of young people that will say, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with this. Let me just live my life, do my thing, and then exit. So it's kind of like a two-pronged question, basically, how you handle the controversies and all, and to young Nigerians, young people generally.
Thank you very much. Winston Churchill said, when you are focused, you don't have time to throw stones at every dog that barks. I have come to understand that it is part of the package. Once you get to the top, you will become a topic. So I don't read these things, honestly. But when my media team says, oh, mommy, or FFA, this is good, I just laugh. And I learned that from my husband. He's been in leadership for almost 50 years. So I watch him, the way he responds, and I laugh. At first, it wasn't laughable, but now I think I'm used to it. So I laugh. And then it's sad, the other question, it's sad, it's heartbreaking to see young people feeling this way, becoming not only disappointed, but disillusioned. And I like to say that when you say things like this, it shows the depravity of the human being. To let you know that your parents or people in leadership, in government, in church, they are not perfect. They are human. So rather than being disappointed or disillusioned, why don't you flip it and say, okay, I'm learning how not to do it. If this is what they did and I don't like it, or I think it's not right, let me show my own next generation, because we're dealing with three generations. The structured generation, which is generation of our parents, and my generation, people like me in their 60s. We're dealing with the handover generation, which is now properly my generation. And then we're dealing with the transition generation, which is in the generation Kayode spoke about, the generation of my children and grandchildren. These three generations, structured, transition, handover and transition. This transition generation will one day become the handover generation. So they better start learning now that, okay, our parents, they did this, they did that. They didn't do it well. So let me be an improvement so that when I become the handover generation and my children become the transition generation, they will be able to do it better. Just like we look at the African culture, for instance, there are some things that are fantastic in the African culture, but there are some things that we don't like. We don't want barbaric killing of twins, circumcising a female. You know, a woman cannot ask for sex, and this, that. And then we say, no. Our forefathers, the structured generation did that. Let's take it out. So I believe that every generation should be an improvement. They should not give up, please. We have bad pastors, bad imam, bad journalists, bad soldiers, bad police, because you are first a human being before you are any other thing. They should just put on that spectacle and see us from that perspective. Thank you.
Wow. What a conversation. And that's a fine place to leave it. We must not lose our humanity, even as we strive to reflect the values and the essence of the season. We'd like to thank you so much. Of course, there are other areas that we didn't touch. We're going to ask you about your own personal story and, you know, every other issue that's relating to Easter, but we'll look forward to having you on another edition of the program. Thank you so much, ma'am. We've been speaking with the founder of the Funke Felix Adejumo Foundation, Reverend Mrs. Funke Felix Adejumo. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
And from Easter now, we shift gears to politics. What's the way forward for the third force, the Labour Party? We'll have those questions answered right after this break. Join us again on the Morning Brief. We'll be right back.
I want to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to all the delegates to this national convention for the trust and the confidence reposed in us to continue as members of the National Working Committee. I also want to appreciate our own Deputy Governor, and through him to all others from Abia State who came to assist us in giving life to this program today.
Welcome back to the program. Now we shift gears to the issue of politics, and in focus is the internal wrangling of the Labour Party. It's festering over time, and they came and they made a very big show, and everybody knows that 6.1 million voters wanted Peter Obi to be president, and that outing was quite impressive. They have numbers in the National Assembly as well, across state assemblies, so we can begin to talk about how they've come. But all of that success seem to be not working to put them together as a party. Different groups fighting for different things. Leadership is at the core of it, the Abure leadership. That's why we have the spokesperson of the chief spokesperson, I should say, Obi Dati organization, Mr. Dr. Unisa Tanko, joining us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Tanko, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. And
there's a lot to talk about your party, but let me start from the end before I get to the beginning. Is there ever going to be an end in sight to the wrangling on your party?
Well, before I answer your question, I'd like to just solidarize with our brothers and sisters in the Christendom and a happy Easter. And then while they are just closing down on their Lenten period, we are still fasting. We are just taking it up so that we can finish up our own shoe this time. So happy Easter to everybody, and I hope and pray that this particular period will give us hope that Nigeria will be a better country in no distance time. Now, to answer your question, everything that has a beginning has an end. There's nothing that comes from the sky that will not land on the ground. So definitely there will be an ending solution to the problems. At the point in time, nobody thought that Labour could get to this particular level. But then here we are. Good or bad, we are all in the news. As we're speaking now, almost everybody that doesn't know Labour now is knowing Labour. So it's even a pure publicity on its own. So as far as we are concerned, there will be solutions to most of the problems, as long as we do the right thing. All we are asking for, or majority of Nigerians are asking for, is for us to do the right thing. Even Nigeria itself, if the right thing has been done, many of us won't find ourselves in this particular very damning and very unacceptable position in which we find ourselves. So, therefore, people and leaders have made concerted effort in trying to midwife the corrections and some of the areas in which we need to improve. And that starts with our principal, Peter Gregory Obi. His Excellency have made concerted effort in trying to intervene at every point we have these particular issues and trying to improve. What did he do? He first of all met with the, when the issue of the National Convention came up, he gave suggestions to the National Chairman that because we are bigger now, we need to have consultation with a wider level, meet with the responsible and interested people, i.e. the TUC and the NLC, stakeholders, the obedient group, young generation people who are interested in seeing Nigeria work, meet with, leaders who have different ideas that can midwife us into a greater height. All of these were the suggestions that he made. And not only did he make those suggestions, he actually practicalized it, because he met with the members of the National Assembly, Federal House of Reps, he met with the senators, he met with the leadership of the party, recently even in Asaba, trying to give them ideas on how he thinks certain things could be done and you could improve our situation. But of course, you know how politics are. Sometimes some people may be giving information, trying to encourage people, but they'll do something different. You can only take a horse to the river, but you cannot force it to drink water. So that's exactly what Mr. Peter Obi has done. His Excellency has done so greatly in order to see he can find solutions to some of the problems that we find ourselves in.
Well, about what he's doing and what he seems not to be doing, that seems to be an important part of the conversation as far as the stability of the Labour Party is concerned. But I doubt that that would be, the most important place to continue this conversation from. You talked about doing the right thing, which is what is expected of everybody. And, those of us who are looking at the Labour Party from without are wondering if the Labour Party is doing the right thing, for the stability of the party and those who are looking up to that party as an alternative. Speaking of which, calls for the resignation of the national chairman of the party, who has now re-emerged as the re-elected national chairman of the party. So people are asking, were there ward congresses conducted before his emergence or re-emergence as the re-elected national chairman of the Labour Party? Why hasn't he addressed questions of allegations of financial impropriety amongst, all others of forgery and perjury? Of course, he's come out to, to react to some of the things that have been done by members of the NLC, but he hasn't particularly responded to these allegations. So just to mention a few of the things a few of the questions that Nigerians are asking about the Labour Party.
Interestingly, I've always advised anybody who wants to join any group or organization, get the documents of that particular organization and read it. This is the constitution of the Labour Party. Anybody that wants to be a member of the Labour Party should have the constitution and should have the manifesto. It will be a guiding principle for anything you want to do within the party. But if you don't have it, you are not informed. You are like a blind man. Section 9 of the Constitution, subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3, talk about membership. It talked about privileges, it talked about procedures, it talked about obligations. Section 10 of the Constitution talked about the privileges, the right to vote and be voted for. It talked about it. Section 10 of the Constitution talked about the issue of the structural arrangement of the party, from ward level to the local government, to the state, and then to the national level. And then these are documents that bind you as a member with the party. So, sometime in 2002, the Labour Party had been having these particular lingering issues with the Nigerian Labour Congress on the fact of leadership issue and some other internal matters. Here is where I give credit to the leadership of Aburi, because he was able to calm down, and there was a peace being brokered by Comrade Femi Falana. I keep on repeating it because sometimes he even asks me why am I mentioning his name, because he did the work, and then we must give credit to him. Comrade Femi Falana and Professor Patu Tomi, Wale Okuni, and a lot of others sat down at the Nigerian Labour Congress House and midwife a truth that, look, we have the Labour Party, which represents the interests of the Nigerian workers. And most of the people who are suffering in this particular country at the moment, most of them are Nigerian workers, the middle class. Let's just leave it as that. So then there was a dispute resolution department in INEC. At that dispute resolution department, instead of you going from left, right, and center going to court, there was an agreement. The document was signed by Comrade Ayuba Waba. That particular document was also published, and there was an agreement. And the agreement was that there will be an inauguration of the Board of Trustees. And the inauguration of the Board of Trustees will also dovetail into a national convention, what they call a unity convention. The unity convention will start from the ward level. Ward to the local government, state, and then the federal. And there's two things to it. Thinking very correctly, the idea behind it is that let's build the structures from the wards. Let's start building so that we can have an advantage, so that nobody will accuse you that you don't even have structures, just like the way they are peddling. So let's start from the ward. It was agreed, signed also by Barrister Julius Aburi. So there's a document already, domiciled at INEC, which INEC was the mediator within that. So it's a document that you cannot run away from. Well, in their own wisdom, they decided that they were going to have a convention that is more or less a closed convention, not an expanded convention, which majority of the members are clamoring for. So therefore, that is where the problem started. All right. So, and that must be done for the Labour Party to be great as a political party that everybody is expecting.
So how national in outlook is this this convention that they decided to hold? How national in outlook when you consider the membership strength of the Labour Party, which I believe cuts across all states of the Federation?
Quite honestly, that convention, we could have had a bigger convention. Let's be truthful about it.
So it's not fully representative of the interests of the Labour Party?
Because, let me tell you, and there, sometimes, that's where you have to fault some of our comrades. Because the true owners of the Labour Party are the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC. There is no local government. There is no ward that the Labour is not represented. What we should have done was to encourage our members to be in the political party, be the card-carrying members of the political party. If they were, maybe some of the problems that we are having, we wouldn't have had it. The truth. So I know there have been some challenges along the line. Some members have already gone to another political party or because there was lack of cohesion. But now we had an opportunity to build the party. So therefore, we should encourage our people, union members, to join the party so that they can build it, so that they can challenge if there are infractions into the constitution, as we are seeing it at the moment now. But if there is nobody within the ward and all, who will say the right thing to be done? Of course, those who find themselves in a position of power will always find a way of using that opportunity to continue to be in the position. So as far as we are concerned, honestly, we should have set the country agog by having the ward congresses. Everybody, including our principal, everybody should have gone back to his ward to build the structure of the party. It could have been an advantageous situation for all of us. There wouldn't be any problem. And here, I must mention, nobody is against any particular person. Just do the right thing and there will be benefit for everybody. They say he who seeks, as our principal usually say, he who seeks to be called excellency must come through an excellent way.
Right. So, few questions for people who are still trying to wrap their head around what's going on. So, is Mr. Julius Aburi widely accepted as national chairman?
Well, at the moment now, if that particular question that you are asking me can be justified, we wouldn't have had problems.
So that's a no?
Because there's a problem, honestly.
So he's not widely accepted?
Because there's a problem, yes, of course, it's not.
Okay, so are you saying he should resign as well?
No, all I'm asking for, the Constitution, as I said, gave a guide. He has a right to contest. He has a right. But let's put it up to the table so everybody can contest.
So we should step back?
Yes, we should. It's the normal thing to be done.
Which is like you should not more be the chairman. Resign. Let us conduct this process as it ought to be.
As a chairman, he has a right. There's a process.
Right.
The process is, number one, you put up an electoral committee.
No, I understand you. So I just want to know what the demands are, so we're clear.
The demands is very clear. Yeah. Let us have an inclusive convention.
So that's for the Obi Dati organization.
Yes. Let's have an open and acceptable convention that will carry everybody. Put up a committee that will be in charge of the convention. That's how it is done everywhere.
So just to be clear, since we're in the Easter period, and I just want to draw this analogy. So within Jesus' camp, there was a Judas, right? That's betrayed.
Yes.
There was a Peter that denied, and I'm not even talking about Mr. Peter Obi, it's just a coincidence. So who is the Judas in this case? Who is betraying the party?
Well, I cannot say exactly who is betraying the party. But once you are not doing the right thing, you yourself know you are betraying the party. As I'm seated here, if I'm found wanting, not doing the right thing for the interest of the party, I could be counted as a Judas.
Okay, so let's take those boxes further. The Labour Party is sending conflicting signal, and I'll tell you why. You talked about the concern raised by the presidential candidates. He wasn't in that convention.
Yes.
You were not in that convention.
True.
The governor of Abia State was not in that convention.
Yes.
But his deputy was the one that announced the winner affirmed the Bure, and I heard his executive, all of that. And I heard, we understand that at some point he was even saying, look, just like Peter Obi, let's consult further and wider so that we'll have a more robust convention. So having said that, and having his people there is a bit confusing. That's on one hand. Second, when you look at what should compose of a national convention, what exactly did Julius Abure not tick in the boxes besides the controversy around forgery and allegations and all of that? Because I'm looking here, national chairman and all members of the TUC, okay, this is where the problem is, which is the first, right? So the president and vice president elected, governors and deputy, members of the National Assembly, chairman and councillors. So if all of these 11, I think in your article, that should be Article 14, composition, function and powers of the organs of the National Convention now. There are about almost 20-something items here. Must all these boxes be ticked for it to be approved as a national convention? And what is left besides a special national convention?
When you do what you agreed to do, or what is constitutionally right, is where you miss the point. Like I told you, there was an agreement for a unity convention. Prior to even him becoming the national chairman, there were agreements that, okay, look, for us to move further, we need to have a national convention that will be inclusive to everybody, starting from the ward to the local government, to the state and the federation. Once you do that, every other boxes are filled. Once you do that, you are in the clear, and you have the right to contest. You may even be popular than even some of the candidates. But when you refuse to do that, then you are missing the point. It's just like you are supposed to go to the right, you just decide to go to the left. Completely. So these are where the major mistakes was being made.
So does this mean now that the only way to resolve this is through a special national convention, or what happened has been invalidated because all the components that are required are not met? What exactly is it?
Yes. Now, even in section Article 13 of the Constitution, subsection C, give room for special national convention in case of issues of this nature. So everybody has a right now to go back to the drawing board and agree on the processes that will be followed to usher in or revalidate or reconfirm a national leader. And that can be done through this particular process. Once this is done, there won't be problems.
Mr. Tanko, if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, there seems to be a slight adjustment in your stance on the legitimacy of the position of Barrister Julius Abure as national chairman of the Labour Party. The last time we had you, you were firmly in support of his leadership, but now you're saying that he has a right to contest, but things have not been done properly. I wonder if this has anything to do with the NLC's latest position that things should be done properly, and the picketing of Labour Party offices in Abuja, in Edo State, as we have seen, and the position of the NLC president that Mr. Julius Abure should resign. And they're reiterating their stance that the NLC, in fact, owns the Labour Party. Am I correct about the adjustment in your stance?
No, there was no adjustment. Let me reiterate. At the point in which I mentioned and put on ground that Julius Abure is the national chairman at that time of the Labour Party, there was no ambiguity, because there was no issue of leadership, because he was the chairman at that point in time. And so also the same position that Comrade Joe Ajiro also took. Remember, Pastor Joe Ajiro did not only make statements in support of Julius Abure, he was at the National Secretariat to give him full support, because we don't give room for intruders when we have a guiding rule. The difference now is that the rules and regulation and the agreement that was already been made, which will have made us more bigger, has been completely kept in abeyance. That is the difference.
Or is the difference more so because the NLC is stating its ownership of the Labour Party and wants to see to it that things are done differently?
No, things should be done rightly. We are unionists, and we are guided by rules and regulations. And when we make an agreement on what we need to do, which we must do them. Abure is a unionist, and so also is Barrister Joe Ajiro, and majority of us, including my humble self.
So do you agree with the NLC when the NLC says that, look, things are not being done the way they used to? The party is for the welfare of the people and to enable people at the lower rung of the ladder to be able to contest for political offices. But in fact, what is being done at the Labour Party now is selling forms at a very high cost to people.
Well, here, that is the position of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Constitution.
What is your own position?
And it's true. I support that. I support that 100%. But you see, as you move along, just the way we are, the salaries that were being paid to the Nigerian workers way back then, I work as a civil servant, I collected nothing like that, sometimes 20, 30 naira at a point. Today, 30 naira or 40 naira cannot be used. So definitely there are increases in costs. For the party to survive, there must be some kind. Whether that level of amount was commensurate to what is agreed upon, that need to have been discussed so that everybody will be carried along. I support the idea because we want to move people. Those who do not believe that they have the right to vote because of money, they can move into the party and run for election, and that should be considered. I strongly believe in that. There must be a symbiotic agreement in order to know the right amount of money to be paid so that we can carry everybody along. That is the target.
Politics is quite interesting. You don't know what will happen in the coming days. No permanent enemies, they say. Who knows? You could see the Papa group now and the Abure group now, you know, shaking hands and hugging. It used to be you, I mean, your group, the Obidati organization, and the Abure group.
So how many groups do we have now? Imagine.
That's true. How many groups do we have within the Labour Party?
It seems like we have 4 groups.
As far as I am concerned, there is only one group I know.
No, but you don't have the same interests. You are saying that you should step back.
Interests are different.
So how many interests?
You just understand.
Okay, so tell us, how many interests do we have?
I have made it clear that the interest is within the whole. One single interest. Let us do the right thing. When you see us going against the Apapa group and all of this, because they did not do the right thing.
So there are at least 3 interests.
No. You are the one that saying
you just said the interests are different.
No. Interests are different.
Yes. So how many interests do we have? We have
only
the Apapa
one interest.
No, but you say that Mr.
Abure
should step back and the right thing be done. He says the right thing was done, so I am the national chairman. 2 interests at least. Then we have the Apapa group with its own interest as well. So at least I have mentioned 3 interests. Okay. Yes or yes.
Now, Kayode, what I said is clear. Yeah. One interest. The interest is for us to do the right thing. Nothing more, nothing. You could take a subset of that particular
sub-interest. So how many sub-interests do we have?
But one interest that we have is for us to have the right thing being done, and that we maintain. And anybody who will try to do that subset, always when you bring it on the table, it's like a train station. It goes straight where it's going.
I didn't expect anything less. I mean, you're a politician. You've been at this for a long time.
No, Kayode,
so at least 3
you also agree with me that I have been consistent.
Absolutely. So let's just be clear. 3 sub-interests, as you put it. At least 3 sub-interests. But my question particularly is this now. As all of this is happening, you have, as Jeffrey said earlier on, you have the majority, the APC, for example, capitalizing on on it and saying, okay, this is a good one. We can also, glean from this and add to our numbers, whether you like it. That's what politics is. Even the PDP saying, oh, this is a good one because we need more numbers. In fact, the Minister of Works had said that God told him that the president will spend 8 years in power. I wonder what you are being told from divinity. Are you against that? Because I know that Mr. Peter Obi is probably going to be given another ticket to run again. But that's against what...
Honestly, I'm on Ramadan fasting. Right. I believe in God, and God never forsakes his children. The Nigerian people are suffering so hard, and we need a right leader. And I believe Peter Gregory could lead us.
So God did not tell you 8 years?
Oh, no, I am not a pastor or an imam. I just believe in God.
Mr. Tanko, I'm looking at the legalese.
Yes.
If you go to court, yes, which you're very familiar with,
yes,
justice is according to the law.
Yes.
But it's still that conflicting signal that this Labour Party, this third force, is still giving us. That article I read, I'm going to read it again.
Okay.
And what option is left? Because if it's a faulty foundation, it's going to affect, this is every 4 years. That's the National Convention. It's supposed to be every 4 years
yes,
or so. It says, Article 14, composition, functions, and powers of a party organs. 1, that National Convention of the party shall hold once in 4 years.
Exactly.
What shall be the composition? The very first composition, which was absent in that convention, national chairman and all members of the National Executive Council, including the NLC and TUC president and general secretary. Doesn't that invalidate what happened in Nnewi? Shouldn't that call for, because what I'm saying in essence is, if you really, every group is really interested in the development of the party, should follow the law. Else you're going to have a problem in the future.
Sure.
And if your group is so interested, what about legal action? What about the special convention? You've not answered that question.
No, I just said it. That I said there was an agreement. That was where the faulty foundation come from. There was an agreement signed by Barrister Julius Abure with Comrade Ayuba Waba. It's published.
I'm not talking about an agreement. I'm talking about the constitution of your party.
The constitution of the party is what you are talking about. I said, once you agree there's a differences, of course you follow the position of the constitution. But if you miss it, like me and you have agreed, there's a debt that you are supposed to pay me, and I agree on the time limit in which you are going to pay me that particular debt, and you did not pay, then you start giving me rules and regulations. Where would that come from? You have to pay first based on the agreement. So what I'm saying is that the document of agreement for us to have an all-inclusive national convention based on the constitution must be done.
So the agreement is based on the Constitution?
Of course.
It doesn't run foul of the Constitution?
I just mentioned part of the Constitution for you. I mentioned the section 9 and 10 and 11 of the Constitution. Section 11 of the Constitution gives you a choreographic position of the structures of the party.
Are you aware that Mr. Obi may be played out in this particular situation?
Oh no. As long as...
Because the original owners of the party now seem to be coming together.
Yes, but of course, Mr. Peter Obi, His Excellency, is a brand of his own.
So if it's not Labour Party today, it could be another party tomorrow.
It's a brand of his own. And so we joined the party as a movement, the National Consultative Front. When we joined, before he also joined in the party. And then I was part of the committee that conducted the particular election that ushered him in as a presidential candidate of the party. So we believe that we have what you are seeing at the third force is not today's work. We're talking about 6 to 7 years work, or even more than that dovetail into this particular Labour Party that you're seeing. So we keep on working. We keep on working. We are like time. What we want is to get Nigeria on the right path. And so if you have a candidate who have the particular capacity and the zeal and the competency to lead Nigeria out of the wood, we will move along with him.
So very quickly, sorry, Jeffrey, Mr. Peter Obi, he's had a very loud silence to everything that is happening, and you're still experiencing confidence that he's the right man to lead the country. Why has he been silent?
There was no silence. He just came out of a Twitter space, speaking to the obedient group and the Nigerian people.
No, about the leadership.
There was no silence at all.
What has he said? Is he still in support of Mr. Julius Abure as national chairman?
No, he said the right thing must be done. That's what he said. If he was, you will have seen me at the convention.
All right. Tough. Well,
you speak with action.
There's a lot to talk about as far as the Labour Party is concerned. But we must also tell you, you're losing out on a few fronts. 7 members or 6 or so have left your party to join, I think, the PDP in Enugu State. That's what happens when the House is not cohesive enough.
And you should also know, you lose some and you gain some.
There you go.
Dr. Eunice Tanko, Chief Spokesperson, Obi Dati Organization. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We wish your party the very best.
It's good to see you in Lagos.
Yes. We've never seen you in Lagos. Good to see you in Lagos. We'll only see you in Abuja.
Okay, don't worry.
So come more often. So that no problem. We have this engagement.
Thank you very much.
Wish your party the best.
God bless you and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Absolutely. Now we should guess, and no longer politics. We're done with politics for today's Easter Monday. So we'll switch gears now when we'll come back to talk about the softer side of things, which has to do with movie making. One of the shining lights will also join us today on the program. Join us again.
Yeah, I know we'll be consuming a lot of movies today. In fact, some have consumed so much movies over this weekend that you need to purge yourself. But yes, thank God for movies, really. Just help you relax, take you out of that world you're in, takes you into another world where you have the producers, the actors, properly interpreting scripts in such amazing ways in the locations and the rest. So let's turn our attention to that industry that has been helping us since, the 1900s. And today on the show, we have joining us one of the shining lights, as Jeffrey put it earlier on. She's the national president of the Association of Movie Producers, AMP, or I don't know if some people call it AMP. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Queen Ebigieson is our guest on the program this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Earlier on said you look like Easter.
Fact,
you heard
that? Yeah.
Welcome to the Morning Brief. I was reading through your bio. I saw you were born in the southern part of Nigeria.
Yes, I was born in Benue State, Makurdi.
You were born in Benue State,
yes.
Right? You're from Edo State.
Yes, and I schooled in the north.
There you go. So you have the south and the north in you. And I think that will have been instrumental to what you're doing now. So just give us a brief history of who you are, how you became what you're doing right now. Because, yes, a lot of people see the work you do, but they forget that there's probably a journey to that point.
There is a very long journey. I'll just try to summarize. I was born in Benue State. I schooled in the north, Bida to be precise. I read mass communication in the Bida Polytechnic. I mean, when I wanted to become an actor, people used to say, you talk like actors, you work like models. And one day I just saw a movie jacket. I called that production house. It was a movie by OJ Productions, and the guy that answered me was very nice. And he said to me, you know, you can't make it in Niger State, you have to come to Lagos. And I was a little bit above 17 to 18. And I used to have a shop in front of my mother's shop where I used to sell pepper and tomato and all of that. So I opened my very first account at maybe 15, First Bank, when they used to give you that paper when you withdraw and all of those things. So it was, the day I decided to go, I went to the bank to withdraw money, and they said there was network issues. So it took me 2 weeks to get my money out, and then there was no way to get in touch with the guy. Anytime I go to call, all trunks are busy. It was days of night help. And finally came to Lagos with the night bus, and when I got there here, and the guy said, Queen, you didn't come since 2 weeks ago. We've done that job now. There's no. I started crying and said, I'm very emotional. People see me as very strong, but you know, things pricks me. And I'm like, how can I come night bus and I don't even have a place to stay? And the guy said, you know what? There's a job going on in Enugu. Would you want to go? I said, yes. So I would want to go. So he now said, okay. They would talk to Andy Aminichi for me. Andy Aminichi was director, Ashes to Ashes, I remember. And so I took the next available night bus. At this time, I had not even had my bath.
You are night buses, though.
I mean, I took like I said, I was selling pepper and tomato in front of my mother's shop. What could I have afforded? That's it, right? So I took the next available night bus. I got to Enugu, my Davos Hotel. I went to meet the director. I introduced myself. And he said, oh, they told him I was coming and that they have something called the Executive Worker Pass for me. It's going to be 3 scenes, but I will not talk. I'll just mourn someone. I said, okay, that's fine. And he said, can you cry? I said, well, yeah, I'll try. It's my first time, even though we've been doing drama in school and all of that. you know, and he said, okay. So we waited the first day. So what happened was that they didn't give me a hotel. So I had to pair with someone, a girl that also came to hustle. So I said to her, the room is 1,200 per night. What do we need to do? Let's just split the bill. So she paid 600 every day, I paid 600. And then we ate whatever we could find. And the fourth day I went to meet the man, like, Oga, please help me, because I'm paying and my money is running out. I had to withdraw the whole 25K I had in the account. And he said to me, they are working with stars now, I should be patient. So he then said, okay. So at the end of the day, we did that job and they said action. Before the man said action, I started crying. Like, wait, don't cry now. We have to say action first. I said, okay. Before they say action, I started crying. And he said, what is even making you? I said, when you've been through the things I have been through with my mother, you would actually just remember how you are hawking fufu and all of that, and you just bust cry. So we did that scene. It was a one-take shot, and it was fantastic. And then I went back to school. But then, what that did for me was that I met Shegun Arinze and co. We're still friends till today. And I didn't have to come to Lagos when there's nothing happening. I'll have to call and they say there's audition, then I'll come. Then when I came, movies were really not paying me. I decided to go into modeling. Modeling also was like an accident. Somebody saw me and said, you work like models. Are you a model? I said yes, because I needed even transport to go home.
The typical Nigerian spirit, never say no to.
I just said yes. I said, you have pictures? I said no. He said, okay. It took me to a costumier, Ngozi Obase. He rented those costumes, took me to a studio, we got those pictures, and he said I should meet him at Insight Communication the next day. We went there, and it was time for audition. And models, beautiful, very tall models. I'm 5'7". I think my height is just the limit for a woman, a tall woman. And then when it was time to catwalk, I went. The lady in the judges like, what are you even doing? Are you a model? I said, yes, ma. And I said, no, come. So I came, very dark, slim, beautiful girl like me. And I said, you are very beautiful. We want you for this role, but it's like you've never modeled before. I said, yes, ma. Let me tell you the truth. It's my first time. And I said, because you told us the truth, sit down. Let's finish with these people. We'll see what we can do with you. So I sat down. After everything, they just told me to model again. I turned around and around and around, and at the end of the day, they picked me, and we did Benson and Hedges, from there to Martina and all of those things. And then I started modeling from that time, did Globacom runway shows and all. Then that wasn't enough. I started dancing. I did musical video for Tony Tetrila, for Idris Abukarim, for Pasuma Wonder, Jiggy Jig Bam Bam, for Idris Abukarim, I think Bash My Card. I did a series of all those things. And in 2015, 2005, when I got pregnant with my son is 18, by the way. Wow. I decided to stop dancing, so it became only modeling for me and all that. And then at some point I dropped runway modeling. It now became just pictures and all of that. Then I picked producing in 2009. I produced my very first film, Borokini. I took a loan from the bank to produce it, and that money never came back until I finished paying the loan. And by the time I finally sold the movie, the story is just plenty. So my journey into Nollywood was just a very beautiful and very challenging one. So it's so long. It will take me 3 hours. So that's why I decided to rush it. But trust me, that spending that 25K, made me who I am today. And so I always advise people to take that challenge and just go for it.
Amazing. We could just keep on listening to you continue with, your trip down memory lane. And I can see a lot of doggedness in it. From the time when you said you were selling pepper in front of your mom's shop, to all the night buses, to when you didn't have anything. And here you are today. And you started off by you continued by talking about Borokini.
Yes.
When I was going through your bio as well, I was like, wow, a lot of Yoruba movies for someone who's from Edo State. There's Ileri Ife, there's Ejo Miko, and you've been born in Benue, you schooled in the north. I imagine that you're multilingual.
Yes.
So tell us about your preference, or your love rather, for Yoruba movies, if you speak Yoruba. And,
it wasn't really love. It was the situation I found myself in at that time. So I've always wanted to produce, because I have series, I write as well. So I have series of stories I wanted to tell. And, just writing stories is not the issue. It's the money to produce those films. And so one day I was working with Fidelis Zuka, Fat Production, because I played a lead role in El Dorado for a very long time. So one of the directors just overheard me talking to somebody. The money never complete. Told me I don't even tire. Anytime when money complete, I go say no complete again. So after the conversation, the guy just came to me and said, look, I wasn't eavesdropping, but this thing that you're talking, we can run a Yoruba film with that amount that you have. And I said, it's not like I even have the amount. I want to take a loan, but that's the amount the bank is saying they can give me with the collateral that I have. And he said, okay, let's do it. So we started and we wrote the story and everything. First of all, they wrote it in Yoruba. That became so difficult. I'll have to read in English, translate it in Yoruba and all of those things. And then afterwards, we got on set. Jide Kosoko was in that job. Sowing Adewale was also in that job. A lot of Ricardo Agbo and co. So when we got on set, my son was also in that job. Yeah, he played my son. When we got on set, they were cut shooting. They would say, speak. Immediately I start. They say, no, that's not. They would cut shoot. So they managed me, I think because it was my job. And then after that job, I told myself, I will learn this Yoruba by fire by force. And one good thing about me is that I have ear for languages. I can speak a lot of language, from Broken to Edo, to my Okpela language, to Benue language, that is the Tiv, to Bida language, that is Nupe. I've never been to Igbo land, like stayed in Igbo land, but I can speak Igbo a little bit. I understand Igbo very well. Then I speak Hausa very well. At some point, I used to read Hausa news in Niger State in NTA. So, I can speak a lot of. So I said, Yoruba, you are not going to be different. So I started learning how to. Now I can just speak it very fluently. So yeah, that was the issue. It wasn't as if I wanted to, I love Yoruba film. No, it was my situation at that time. And I didn't regret it because he made me a fantastic producer. And then after I did about 4 Yoruba films, and I did my very first English production, which was Change of Fate and My Fate. I shot part of it in the UK, and I shot the remaining here. And then after that one, I did TNK, I also shot parts in America, then shot the other ones here. So yeah, so far my BQ production company has shot over 16 movies. And I've acted in over 60 films for people, soap operas and all of that.
I think the first thing I'll say, you need to do a movie titled Night Bus, Journey to because there are so many people that came to Lagos through Night Bus.
Yes.
The story is all over the place. If you ask questions, I came through. Some people came to Lagos not knowing where to sleep.
I came with Ife Zinachi, yes, I remember.
All these brands you're mentioning.
sorry.
Vital to young.
So let's talk about the producers, the challenges producers face in the country. I see you say I take loan and personal collateral and all of that. So that could be challenging because it's a space that you're not sure of how things will come out. Because I know in movies, Cleopatra now, one of those movies in America, about 200 million was spent and it went down the drain. So it's quite difficult for people to give you credit and all of that. But how have you producers as an association been faring, coming together to see that things are a bit easy, that people can see what you write in terms of your intellectual property IP and say, okay, whether you have a property that is tangible or not, this is enough for me to put my money in. How difficult or how easy has it been?
Okay, so first of all, I'll just talk generally as a producer, and before I talk about the producers in the association. It's a very difficult situation with us as producers when it comes to funding, because we know that in every part of the world, the government helped the industry to grow, and this industry has just been us and us and us alone. We've grown it with our sweat and blood, and some of us used to have houses. We now squat with people because we took loans that we couldn't pay back. You said it all. When it comes to movie, a bad movie can make money, a good movie might not. A good movie might make money and all of those things. So because of that, people in business, everybody is in business to make money. The banks are not willing to part with their money without a good collateral. So if you don't have a house or something that is worth that amount they're giving you, or even close, you're not going to get that loan. So it's a very challenging situation. And that's why most of the time when I talk, I always tell government, look, you have to come up with single-digit loans for us. We're not telling you give us grants all the time. We're saying even if you give us grants, even make it a grant that people can see. Sometimes they say there are lots of billions stashed away here and there, but we never really access this money. A very few people are able to access this money. Like when they put some billions to Bank of Industry to share for us, at the end of the day, if you want to buy equipment, you'll be able to get that loan. The equipment becomes a collateral, and that's for studios. Everybody cannot own studios. So we as producers, we want money to just make this film, and we are saying if you belong to a renowned association that is well known, that association alone should be a guarantee that you will pay back this loan. No matter how, even if the movie flops, you're going to figure it out. It might just take you a longer time. And that's why we're saying, because you don't know which movie will make money, you can't take a loan at 30%. you are looking at taking a loan at 0%, 0 interest, 5% or 3%. That way, the percentage does not kill you at the end of the day. And so that's what we're saying. And the government is looking like they are listening, they are not listening, but we'll still continue to talk. But when it comes to the Association of Movie Producers, what I've been big on since I came in as president for the past 1 year is that we need to collaborate. We cannot, let's share the risk and share the profit. And you find that what happens in Nigeria is because a lot of people don't want to share the stage with you. They want that glory to be on them and them alone. I'm just saying, if we produce a hit film, even if it's 4 of us as producers, who says we can't all shine together as 4 people? But we're going to take that risk, share the profit. But you just want to look at only the profit. Supposing you put in 100 million of your money and it doesn't come out, what will you do? You're going to get depressed, you're going to get hypertension and all of those things. But if you put in 4 people, 25 million each, you still have your 75 million in the bank. If the movie does not make it, then you're not going to kill yourself because you still have 75 million naira just chilling and cooling off. So for me, I've been big on collaborating and also big on crowdfunding. Like if you want to shoot a movie of 100 million, why can't you do a crowdfunding? You have a church you go to church, talk to them, let people put in small money. Before you know, you get your 100 million. If profit come, fine. If profit does not come, nobody's going to die. And recently, Lagos State gave us some grants. It was 2 million naira each. It was not something that was enough to shoot even a skit. So we decided to come together. Paulo Bazele, Tade Ogidon, Victor, Kai, and Co. About 21 of us, the list is very long. And we put that monies together and we said, you know what, we want to shoot a banger. And so we've been working on that project. It's going to cost us maybe 200 million or thereabout. So the money that we even got from government is not going to be enough. Right. So we're trying to drag investors to come in with us. And the reason why we did that is just sharing this risk, as I'm talking about. Okay. We need to share the risk. So for me, I think that the funding issue has been an issue and it will continue to be an issue until government decide to do something.
And also finding creative means, as you said, to raise these funds. I don't know if the title of the movie will be Banger, but we look forward to that. 2 things I need to take you up on. One, there are a lot of people who are concerned about having subtitles, for example. I see someone say disvirginated in the subtitle or something ridiculous in the subtitle. Or you have someone playing the role of a doctor and the doctor's trying to resuscitate a patient and is pushing on the abdomen. When I mean, the average person knows that that's not where you push, you push the chest. Or you see someone who's playing a doctor using a stethoscope on the skull. And things, and people are like, come on, Nollywood, really, we can do better because they see better movies, right? So what exactly plays out behind this, particularly people that subtitle movies and you see some ridiculous subtitling and the interpretation
First of all, let's talk about the subtitling because I get to even see that a lot, but right now we're better, right? We have technologies that can just subtitle for you now. You don't even have to get people to start typing. What used to happen before was that some producers are very lazy. They just give this film to people, to editors to do, they subtitle it. They don't go back to sit down and watch scene by scene, word for word to correct. No matter what you do as a producer, it's your job to make sure that the subtitling is right. You have to look at the job from beginning to the end. Till it gets into the market is your cup of tea. So some producers don't take their time to look. For instance, my job, if you look at it, I can beat my hand on my chest. There's no subtitling issue. And there's no issue because I take my time to watch these films and then I'll jot line by line. You are supposed to write it like this. When you are done, I will still sit down and watch it. I have a job I did in January. They are still editing. The editor is even tired of me because each time he send a cut, I find one correction. Each time he send a cut, I find one correction because that is my job. I'm not lazy to do that. Right. So when it comes to subtitling, that was the issue. Now we have figured that out. I mean, it's much better. Then when it comes to doctors, you see, because of the way we get funding, we are in a hurry to finish shooting. A lot of producers want to shoot a movie they could have shot for 1 month, for 2 weeks. So when it comes to that, you get people who are amateur in this thing and no research, and then the next thing they're doing rubbish there. So at the end of the day, what we advise producers is that if you want to spend 2 weeks, it's okay. Get people that know the job. Make them work twice as hard. You're still going to get the same result, but don't just put in useless content because you're going to be bastardizing the whole market.
Absolutely.
And when it's time, people will say, I beg, no be that film.
And it rubs off on the professionals.
Everybody.
There's a popular demand, by the way. Somebody wants to see you cry. And that's why I have a tissue here.
Oh, please don't do that now. It's Easter.
I know, right? But it's it, we've seen you, but we want to see you do this live, since you do this very well.
Easter.
So there you go. I did my part. I have a tissue.
Don't make me cry, sister. Please don't make me cry.
She's getting teary already. We don't want you to cry. I don't want you to cry.
I don't want to mess your makeup up.
Okay, great.
So we tried our best.
Yeah.
You can catch a movie if you want to see her cry. Well, I'd like to thank you so much. Absolutely amazing talking to you, hearing your story and the work you have ahead. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
And just know that we all root for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So we root
thank
for
you.
Nollywood. We'll be speaking with Dr. Queen Ebigieson, as Nollywood actress, filmmaker, National President, Association of Movie Producers. Is it AMP or AMP?
AMP, AMP. Yeah.
I like the AMP. I like the ring to it. Thank you so much for your time and happy holidays.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, and that's how it's being on the program. We're wrapping up with a woman president of AMP and looking forward to seeing a woman president of Nigeria. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to explore how we'll achieve that. I am Bukola Koka.
Thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Lozama.
Hey, it's not bad to dream, but let's go ahead and do it. So I can, I will, I shall. Goodbye, I'm Kaduna.